Guys, we're going to talk about Pythagorean Theorem and how it is applied. Pythagorean Theorem is a formula that only applies to right triangles. So if we have this right triangle with sides A, B, and C, Pythagorean Theorem says that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. I like to take it a little step further though. A and B are both called legs. C is called the hypotenuse. So it's actually one leg squared plus the other leg squared is equal to the hypotenuse squared. So let's try some examples. Solve for C. Four squared plus 8 squared, those are both of the legs, is equal to the hypotenuse squared. So if we were to simplify this, we get 16, 64 is equal to c squared. With 16 and 64, we'll move it up here. That's equal to 80. And then in order to find c, we have to take the square root of both sides. Here you'll find that c is approximately 8.9. Another example, solving for a. Notice a is one of the legs. So we have a squared plus the other leg is 11 squared is equal to 14 squared. 14 is the hypotenuse. So we can simplify this a little bit. A squared plus 121 is equal to 196. Then we got to subtract 121. That gives us a squared is equal to 75. And then again, to find a, you take the square root of 75, and a is approximately 8.7. One more before we get to the applications. Again, this one is finding the hypotenuse. So 8 squared plus 15 squared is equal to c squared. 8 is 64. 15 squared is 225. That's equal to c squared. Combining those, you get 289 is equal to c squared. And if you were to take the square root of 289, you'll get that c is equal to 17. So let's look at a few applications. Two joggers run 8 miles north and then 5 miles west. What is the shortest distance to the nearest tenth of a mile that they must travel to return to their starting point? I'll find it always best to draw a picture. So they jog 8 miles north, then they jog 5 miles west. Well, the shortest distance to get back to where they started is the hypotenuse of that right triangle. So to solve this, we would have 8 squared plus 5 squared equals x squared. Solving quickly for this, 8 squared 64 plus 25 is 89 is equal to x squared. Take the square root. It's going to be a little over 9. The shortest distance is approximately 9.4 miles. Our next example, Oscar's doghouse is shaped like a tent. The slanted sides are both 5 feet long and the bottom of the house is 6 feet across. What is the height of his dog house in feet at its tallest point? Well, this isn't a right triangle, but it is a isosceles triangle where both the sides are 5 feet and the bottom of the house is 6 feet. Well, an isosceles triangle, if you are to draw the height, it cuts that in half, making a right triangle. So what we're missing is the height, and we have a triangle, a right triangle, with one leg that is 3, so 3 squared, plus another leg that is missing, x squared, is equal to 5 squared, which is the hypotenuse of that right triangle that's shaded in. Simplifying here, we get 9 plus x squared equals 25. Subtracting 9, you get x squared is equal to 16. And take the square root of 16. And the height of that doghouse is 4 feet. Next one, to get from point A to point B, you must avoid walking through a pond. To avoid the pond, you must walk 34 meters south, so we'll draw a picture. 34 meters south, and then 41 meters east. To the nearest meter, how many meters would be saved if it were possible to walk through the pond? Well, that pond is over here. So if it were possible to walk across that pond, how many meters would be saved? Well, so our answer, our final answer, is going to be 34 plus 41. That's 75 meters. Our answer is going to be what happens whenever we subtract x. But we first have to find x. And to do that, we'll use Pythagorean Theorem. So 34 squared plus 41 squared equals x squared. So you get 1,156 plus 1,681 is equal to x squared. When you add that together, you get 2,837 is equal to x squared. Take the square root of 2,837, and you get approximately 53 is the value of x. Well, so we have to take x and subtract 53, and we would have saved 22 meters if we would have been able to walk directly across the pond. In our last example, a suitcase measures 24 inches long, and the diagonal is 30 inches. There's our beautiful suitcase. How much material is needed to cover one side of the suitcase? Well, so here we have to find the area. Area of a rectangle is length times width. Well, we don't know what the width is. We do, however, know the length. So we have to solve using Pythagorean Theorem. We get w squared equals, scratch that, w squared plus 24 squared equals 30 squared. So you get w squared plus 576 equals 900. Subtract 576. And then you get w squared is equal to 324. And then you take the square root of 324. And the width is 18. So to actually solve this question, we have to take the length, which is 24, times the width that we discovered was 18. You multiply those, you get 432 inches squared for the amount of material needed for one side of that suitcase. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that's Pythagorean Theorem applications.